Texas legislature is drunk on power.
Mr. Campbell sent an amendment. The amendment is acceptable to the author. Is there objection to the opposite amendment? The chair has none. The amendment is adopted.
Or maybe they're just drunk. We don't actually know. The man in that clip was Dade Phelan. He is the Texas House Speaker, a Republican from Beaumont, Texas, the home of Spindletop. As you saw in the clip, I don't need to tell you, he appeared to be drunk, or as some have more compassionately suggested, maybe he was actively having a stroke while swinging a gavel and conducting a legislative session. Neither are good.
Chair recognizes Mr. Johnson of Harris. Mr. Johnson of Harris to speak in opposition to the bill.
He was slurring his speech to the point that he was incoherent at times, and he seemed to be less than lucid. At the time of me recording this, he has not responded to requests for comment regarding whether or not he was drunk or, in fact, suffering from a stroke in front of a bunch of people, none of whom thought to check on him while he was displaying such concerning behavior. But maybe it was just business as usual.
The chair has none. The amendment is adopted.
According to one former state representative, Jonathan Strickland, a Republican, by the way, this is a common occurrence on the state floor. He tweeted, quote, "Anyone who watches the Texas Ledge House knows many of the members are regularly intoxicated. Watching the speaker be this wasted is absolutely unacceptable. These representatives are making laws that impact 30 million Texans. It must stop." So I am one of those 30 million Texans, and well, I woke up this morning to news that the Texas Ledge had taken away more of my rights specifically. My county, the county that I vote in, has been targeted by Texas lawmakers in a way that feels, illegal, unconstitutional, just not okay. So I'm in a bit of a mood.
More than 22 election challenges have been filed in Harris County to overturn the will of the voters from the November 2022 elections. And when that happened, you saw state officials, multiple state officials, call for a redo of elections in Harris County. And so this bill would do exactly that. It would empower the Secretary of State, who is an official appointed directly and answerable directly to the governor of Texas, to unilaterally decide to overturn election results in Harris County. I think what you would see if that were to happen would be electoral chaos.
But it's not like we didn't know that they were trying to do this. We knew. The state Republicans have been mad at Houston since the 2020 presidential election, when Harris County election officials had the audacity to make it easier and safer for people to vote in the middle of, at the height of, really, a pandemic. I don't need to tell you that Harris County is an overwhelmingly blue county. But in the two bills the state just passed, it didn't explicitly call out Harris County or Houston. The bills only apply to counties with over 3.5 million people. It just so happens that the only county in Texas with that many people is Harris County. One bill would allow the Abbott-appointed Secretary of State to remove a local official after investigations following, quote, "a recurring pattern of problems with election administration." The second eliminates the position of elections administrator. We don't get to have one in Harris County, even though every other county in Texas gets to have one. 253 counties out of 254 get to have an elections administrator. This is on top of previous limitations the state officials have imposed on cities and counties in direct response to Houston's expanded voter access and safety protocols in 2020. We no longer get to have drive-through voting, no 24-hour voting, and we have restrictions on distributing mail-in ballot applications. Those measures were extended to Houstonians in 2020 primarily because it helped people to keep their distance from one another. Again, we were in the middle of the pandemic. So basically, the state has taken over our local elections. The party that maintains its identity as the party of small government is overreaching again. So I just rewatched the last couple episodes of Succession, and I won't spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but man, they were hard to watch the first time around, but I think they were worse the second time. I don't often use the word triggering unironically, but the nonchalance with which the democratic process was trivialized in those episodes was provocative in a very disturbing and disconcerting way. Then there's the imagery of these billionaires, these corporate capitalists, media moguls, and political agitators in their high-rises literally separating themselves from the plebeians below, from the chaos that their own selfish actions and decisions inflict on millions of others, on a nation of others. But otherism is a great escape. If you can make people others, then their problems don't concern you. Othering people is liberating. It frees you from the boring constraints of empathy and any sense of responsibility that you might otherwise feel towards others. We are the others. They're the ones in high rises. Our problems aren't real to them because they have deliberately separated themselves from us and our problems. They have self-isolated. Sure, they pretend to be of the people because they have to pretend to be. But we know from the way they speak and from the way they govern that they think they're better than us. The laws they enact don't affect them apart from serving whatever selfish end they're personally after. And they will do as much as they think they can get away with, and then some. In the meantime, they're wasting our tax dollars on political games, wasting our tax dollars on efforts to suppress our votes. So as of right now, the Texas Attorney General and Trump loyalist Ken Paxton is calling for House Speaker Phelan to step down from his position, which is absolutely rich coming from Paxton. While both men are Republicans, Paxton is a hardcore Trumper, whereas Phelan is not. They're not super fond of one another. It's being said that Paxton is calling for Phelan to step down because of his behavior during the legislative session, but Phelan's office claims that Paxton is just being a bit opportunistic. Currently, a Texas House committee is investigating the AG office over Paxton's attempt to secure over $3 million from taxpayers to settle a whistleblower lawsuit into his own misconduct. Now, Paxton, for being the top law enforcement official in the state, is drowning in accusations of bribery, corruption, abuse of office, securities fraud, and more. Oh, and he was at the Capitol on January 6th. He gave a speech. And all of them just made themselves even more difficult to vote out of office. I'm telling you, this is why so many Texans get irritated when non-Texans tell us that our bad leadership is our own fault. It's not. All right, that's it for me. And I'm sorry I couldn't end on a more hopeful note, but if you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe to the channel and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you.